Hi everyone. Welcome to our first hike. My name is David. You might recognize me because I conduct the choir at the church. This week we're going to spend some time exploring the Bible. It's a good thing that we won't actually hike through the Bible though, because there's just too much area to cover. Our legs would give out. We would have to hike all the way from modern-day Africa to Iran and Turkey and a bunch of other places to cover all of it. The Bible also covers thousands of years of history and stories. There's no way we could ever catch up. Luckily, this is a virtual hike. We can learn all about the Bible as if we're actually there. I've asked some of our puppet friends to test their Bible knowledge. Let's see how they do.
One and all, today's edition of What Do You Know? The trivia game show where we find out what you know. And I'm your host, Bible Billy. Our contestants today are Sally the Pirate, Billy the Elephant, and Shifty the Alligator. Now, good luck to you all. And now, revealing today's topic. Contestants, today you will be telling us what you know about the Bible.
Oh, shiver me timbers. I didn't see that coming.
The Bible. Whoa, I knew I should study it.
The Bible, yeah, that's the book for me.
All right now, settle down. Now, ready your buzzers. First question, how many books are in the Bible?
Was that me? I didn't mean to crash the buzzer. I just, jeez, this is sensitive.
All right, do you have an answer?
Well, I think the Bible is just one book. One cover of it, so must be just one book.
That is incorrect. Now, Salty, Ellie, that is incorrect. Salty is upset. Ellie, do you have an answer?
Yes, sir. There are 66 books in the Bible.
Correct.
Ah,
All right, congratulations. All right, now next question. According to the Bible, what is required for everyone to understand God's word? No, I'm sorry, that is incorrect.
Seminary degree.
Seems like it, but no.
The Holy Spirit is required.
Correct. Next question. How many years did it take Solomon to build the Lord's temple?
372. That's my favorite number.
That's not even close. Anyone else?
40 days and 40 nights.
Good guess, but no, that was the flood.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It took Solomon 7 years to build the Lord's temple.
If you know all the answers, why aren't you buzzing in before us, Ellie?
I accidentally sat on my buzzer. It's the elephantine derriere again. Broke my buzzer.
Oh, my word.
Doggone it.
This is getting out of hand. All right, now, final question. This one is worth 4 points, so it's still anybody's game. The last book of the Bible starts with what letter? Correct. The last book of the Bible is Galatians. Salty, you're our winner. 3 points, and Shifty, well, you gave it a good try. But that's it for today, folks. Tune in next time for more What Do You Know?
What do you know? I love this game.
Well, I guess that shows how much we all have to learn about the Bible. When we explore all 66 books of the Bible, we can find some major themes or ideas in the different sections. The Bible is divided into two sections, the Old Testament and the New Testament. In the Old Testament, there are 4 sections. Number 1, the 5 books of the Pentateuch, which introduce stories of God's people and of God's promises and faithfulness to them. Number 2, the 12 historical books that tell us about judges, kings, and other leaders of God's people, as they learned how to be faithful to God and in community with one another. 3, the 5 books of writings that contain poetry and songs that help us to know God's love for us. And 4, the 17 books about prophets, which help us to learn how God has called people to speak out about difficult things. In the New Testament, there are 3 sections. Number 1, the 4 Gospels and the book of Acts tell us all about the life and ministry of Jesus and the acts of his followers. Number 2, the 12 letters of the Apostle Paul help us to see all the ways that the early churches had some of the same struggles that we do. Number 3, the general letters and the book of Revelation help us to learn more about the earliest followers of Jesus and how they stayed faithful. At its heart, though, the Bible is about our relationship with God. How have faithful people seen God? How has God tried to reach out to people in the world? Do your parents sometimes tell you bedtime stories? Sometimes I like to imagine that God is telling us a bedtime story through the Bible. Let me tell you my favorite story. The Bible story I'm going to tell you is the story of Noah's Ark. Now, this story comes from the very beginning of the Bible. You can see here, this is my daughter's Bible, and I'm opening it up to the very beginning, near chapters 6 and 7. This is the story of Noah and the great flood. Now, God knew that a great flood was going to cover the entire earth and destroy everything on it. But Noah was a good man, and his family was good. And so God visited them and said, "Build a giant boat out of wood, and I will send you animals from all over the world, and you will load them onto the ark with your family, and I will keep you safe until the flood is over." Now, the ark would have been huge, not like the little toy I just showed you. It would have been a big, giant boat, bigger than a football field. We know because the Bible tells us its measurements. It would have been 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and over 50 feet tall, taller than a modern 4-story building. In fact, it could have carried as much cargo as a train with 500 cars. So there would have been room for all the animals. And we don't have to imagine how big the ark was, because a museum in Kentucky, about 45 minutes south of Cincinnati, has built a full-size replica of the ark, and I've visited there, and it is big. The animals probably came to Noah on their own, through God's help. But once they arrived, Noah's family would have had to care for them and feed them until the ark was finished being built. Imagine how surprised Noah's family would have been when all these different animals started showing up on their doorstep. Dragons are over there in the woods. Now, there were 2 of most types of animals, a male and a female. But the Bible is also clear that there were 7 pairs of other types of animals. So there would be as many as 14 of one kind of animal sometimes. Dragons went that way. At last the day came when God said to Noah, "Take all the animals and gather them up and load them onto the ark. And gather up your own family and get into the ark yourselves, and shut the door behind you and seal it." And then the rain started. And this wasn't normal rain. It was heavy, heavy rain and floods and earthquakes, and the world was covered. Anything that wasn't on the ark disappeared, but God kept Noah and his family and the animals safe. And after 40 days and 40 nights, the rain stopped, but the ark sailed on for many months. The Bible says that at the end of several months, the ark came to rest on a mountaintop, but the floodwaters were too high, and the earth was still covered. Noah opened a window and sent out a raven, and the raven flew back and forth but couldn't find any place to land, and so it came back. Noah waited a little bit longer, and he sent out a dove, and the dove flew around and couldn't find any place to land, and it came back. So Noah waited a little bit longer, and he sent out the dove again, and this time the dove came back with a tree branch, a small twig from an olive tree, which proved that there were trees growing again. And so Noah waited and opened up the ark and let all the animals out. And Noah gave thanks to God, and he and his family burnt offerings to the Lord. And God made a promise to Noah. He set a rainbow in the sky over the ark, and he told Noah that he would never again destroy the earth with a flood. And the Lord said to Noah, "As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall never cease." Thank you all for hiking with me today and for letting me share my favorite Bible story with you. We've learned some things about the Bible and all the books inside. Knowing these things about the Bible can help us when we dig in and read from its pages. I hope you will explore your own Bibles this summer, discover more about what's inside, and grow in your faith. See you soon.